welcome back, everybody, and appreciate you hopping on to this amazing Hacker Hangout. This is actually a special one because we got Limaris from Halborn on. So I'll give her an intro in just a few minutes. But in this case, to start off with our normal housekeeping, as usual, follow us on our socials. So our Twitter, you're already here on our Discord, our Telegram announcements, and as well as our newsletter. So we do have our newsletter. It's at the bottom of our homepage at immunified.com. Apologies a little bit for my voice. Just getting out of a little bit of, or just coming out of being a little bit sick. Yes, Mohammed, I do have a little bit of a cold. Thanks for noticing. So my nasally voice is a little bit more nasally than usual. But it's all good. So I'm here. It'll be fun today. So also to recap last week's bug bounties until this week, we've gotten some big ones that were released last week. Specifically on Thursday. Thursday was actually kind of hot. So I know we started off last week with Eco at $1 million. We also had Algorand released a $2 million bounty. Thursday was pretty hot because we also had ApeCoin, but it was their testnet. So it was their their go early testnet launch, which was at a little over $1 million, $8,888 to be specific. And then to wrap up the weekend, we had a small one with a BlockPi with a 15K one. And then yesterday we released another $2 million bounty. This was with Evmos. And then also a $500,000 bounty from Liquid Swap. As usual, I'll always open the feedback. So if you guys want any of those projects to hop in, oh yeah, that's true. Pepman's right. The ApeCoin bounty is only live for 2 weeks. When will it be up for mainnet? There will be in the future. I won't give any timelines, but there will be an ApeCoin mainnet bug bounty released in the near future. So Haruks, you are ahead of the curve there. But yeah, so yeah, that ApeCoin one is only live for 2 weeks, so get on that because that's essentially one of those limited time only ones. Pepin, you beat me there. I didn't get there yet, but yes, Immunified time bound. We have released our own bounty program as well. This is kind of that intro to, or it's essentially our proof of capital vault system. So just a quick rundown. This smart contract is for our vault system that essentially allows projects on Immunified to deposit funds in vaults to show that they have the funds to pay out the bounties. I know that was one of the issues that you guys have brought up to us in multiple hacker hangouts to ask whether or not we audit any not audit, but kind of like vet any projects that have the ability to pay or not pay. This is going to help with that specific issue. And then also it'll allow us to send funds to White Hats on chain via our dashboard. And this was essentially one of our first steps in essentially creating a decentralized bug bounty platform. The whole point is to really empower both the projects and the White Hats at the same time, while ensuring that whole trust and having essentially a good bug hunting experience. So we're offering a 50K bounty there. But yeah, so hopefully this, you guys can help us in our journey in terms of providing a better environment for you guys as the White Hats, as well as the projects that we work with. So I think it'll be awesome. And without further ado, I kind of want to make a ton of time, to leave for you guys, because I know you guys have been bugging me to try and get one of the other security companies on here. And Halborn was Limaris at Halborn. It was kind enough to hop on here with us to chat and answer your questions. I know you guys have a lot of questions, both on the technical side, non-technical side, and kind of some of the issues that or things that you guys want to know, maybe on the recruiting side as well. Things that you guys kind of want to hit me up about. So With that, I will give the floor for Limaris to give her intro, her position at Halborn, what she does, and a little bit of an intro about Halborn as well as her background. So, Limaris, welcome. Everybody in the audience, please give her a big warm welcome to the stage.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Just like you, I'm a little sick today, so I'm a little stuffy, just getting over a bunch of different, I guess I got the conference flu while I was traveling, but I'm very happy to be here, everybody. I'm always excited to talk about security and educating the industry. There's a lot of different issues going on, and I'm very happy to be able to help, even if it's just with, a bug bounty program and encouraging people to participate and to sign up for these things. So my name is Limaris Torres. I'm a security advisor with Halborn. My job is a little bit strategic, a little bit hacker, a little bit incident response, a little bit a little bit of everything. I do full spectrum security. Sometimes that's assisting clients with, education. Sometimes that's assisting clients with smart contract audits, and sometimes that's assisting clients strategize and build plans for DevOps so that they can build with security in mind. Halborn is a full service cybersecurity company with a blockchain practice, and we have several different specialties within the blockchain space. We do practices like our Rust based practice, our Solidity or EVM based practice. We have a COSM practice, among a bunch of other different practices with penetration testers and security and offensive security engineers who focus on just those individual technologies. So happy to be here, happy to chat, happy to discuss and answer all questions.
Awesome. Thanks for that quick intro. Also wanted to give a massive shout out to Halborn as well, because you guys helped us a lot with a few postmortems that we put together. And for you guys that want to review that, I'm gonna throw them all in the chat right here for you guys to review. But these guys helped us out. So big shout out to the team at Halborn for helping us out with that. Um, Awesome. Sentient. That's awesome. So yeah, so as usual, you guys, for how this normally works is essentially, as you know, I always give you guys the floor. These calls are for you guys. So any questions that you guys have for, either something technical, non-technical. But yeah, I guess first question that we got from Haruks is how long you've been in Web3 security.
Yeah, so I've been an offensive security person pretty much my whole life, but within Web3 specifically, I started tinkering about 2 years ago, and I've been in this space officially working for a Web3 company for about a year.
Awesome. And then also, also if you want to keep track of some of the questions, in terms of what I'll ask, they're all on the event channel above this. So the next one coming from Da Vinci is he's wanting to know how you, and I'm also interested in how you personally and as well as Halborn sees the Web3 space evolving in the next 5 years.
Yeah, so this is actually a pretty interesting question. I think the general consensus at Holborn is that the Web3 space is in its infancy. And so there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in terms of security, just because while we build new technologies, it takes time to really understand these new technologies. And trial and error is going to be the way for a few years at least until we can have enough data, enough evidence, enough mistakes, enough, we can collect enough data from all of these different hacks to say these are the industry best practices that we should be doing. So as a whole, I'm very excited about the blockchain space, regardless of, the fundamental meltdown happening with the central exchange globally. But I'm excited about the blockchain space specifically. I'm excited about what we're building. I don't think blockchain is going to save the world, but I think it's going to provide us a very, very, very powerful and useful tool among all the other tech tools that we have. And so what we're seeing right now is there's a lack of maturity in the industry. But the lack of maturity is due to a lack of education. And the education, it's not like you can go to school right now and study blockchain security, and you can't really go to school right now and study blockchain development either. So this is just something that we're all learning from each other. We're all learning from hackathons. We're trying to listen to different events, kind of like this one, to learn from industry experts. We're learning a lot on YouTube. Some things are good and some things are not so good, but there's no real like single source of truth. So at Halborn, we're doing a lot of research, we're gathering all of this data, and we're helping build that education for the industry. Like our founder Steve, he wrote this course along with some of the other folks at Halborn called Blockchain Security and Smart Contract Hacking. And if you take the course, you can see these are the top 10 most common vulnerabilities we find on EVM-based chains. These are the top 10 common most vulnerabilities we find in DeFi projects, in bridges, in NFTs, and this is what we've learned from operating in this space for a long time. And you'd be surprised, a lot of these things are not Web3 vulnerabilities. They're simply Web2 vulnerabilities existing in the Web3 space. Code is code regardless of what you're building. And so certain types of vulnerabilities apply regardless of if you're building for AI or if you're building for blockchain or if you're building for robotics or whatever. It's input sanitation, for example. It's an issue that happens across the board, across industries. So we're excited to help educate. We're excited to help, if you want to learn, our Twitter game is strong. We're always posting alpha and good insights and good educational material on Twitter.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. So we got another one from Mohammed. Mohammed's one of our more active community members. So he wants to see if you can give a quick rundown of your current approach, or Halborn's approach in terms of methodology for new engagements.
Yeah, so we have a pretty holistic approach to engagements where we're not a smart contract audit sweatshop, right? There's more to security than just your smart contract audits, and a lot of people don't realize that. But at the end of the day, when you're engaging with a smart contract, 9 out of 10 times it's through a Web2 web app, which means that you're exposed to Web2 vulnerabilities. So we like to look at everything full stack and we like to look at everything holistically. Your smart contracts are only part of that stack. And what we do first is we scope out our clients and we really get to know your architecture and every single piece of technology that you operate with. And then from there, we'll make recommendations on strategies and on what type of technological assessments we have to be, or technical assessments we have to be doing, right? We're really big on trust but verify, right? We're going to trust that you built something securely with the best intent, but we're going to put some of our engineers front and center with all the weapons and all the tools necessary to verify that it's actually built securely. We're going to stress test your systems, and that means your cloud infrastructure, that means your smart contract audits, that means your domain, that means your full web application for cross-site scripting and all sorts of other stuff. So it really just depends on who the client is, what industry they are, what your tech stack looks like. We really tailor our approach by clients. And what we try to do is we try to just, we're not this one-time smart contract security audit where you're neighborhood-friendly cybersecurity advisors, where we're going to build alongside you for the long haul because we're in this together and everybody at Halborn loves blockchain and we want it to be adopted by the masses and we're long all these tokens. So the only way to make sure that we have mass adoption is to make sure that people can actually trust the infrastructure. When you lose trust, like, with FTX and stuff, that's when things collapse and that's when users leave. So in order to drive adoption, I think trust and security is, one of the most important things we need to focus on going forward.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the hardest parts about this space too, is that trust aspect. I mean, even stemming back from the old ICO days, you've had all these different projects that have come and have coming and gone within just a few months. And all the things that have been happening with user funds, especially more so on like the centralized exchanges, DeFi, and things like that. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And what I've seen in crypto too is most of everybody that's serious in the space has approached this every new project and kind of everything that's new with a level of caution, just to make sure. I think I joke around with, some of my colleagues in the space, which is basically if you haven't been hacked, scammed, or rugged at any point, you really haven't been in the crypto space. So it's a little bit of a joke. But moving on, Pepin's got a question. So he wants to know if you can give us an intro to Zion, and how that will help us with hacking. For those of you that don't know what Zion is, it's basically one of their Web3 security and testing development virtual machines. I'll link an article here that I kind of just came across right now. So if you can give a quick intro on that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, of course, I'd be happy to. So, sorry, Zion is a Linux distribution that comes pre-packaged with most of the tools, libraries, repositories, and development slash security tools that you're going to need to conduct a pen test or do research on smart contracts and blockchain technologies. The license and the whole operating system was developed and is being maintained by Halborn. I'm actually pretty excited about this. It's kind of, if you have a traditional penetration testing background like me, then you would have probably heard of Backtrack, which is what it was called when I started, and then you would have heard of Kali, and essentially Zion is like the Kali for blockchain because it comes pre-installed with, and it has some key features. Where it comes pre-installed with like all the different Ethereum development and security tools. It comes with different Bitcoin tools, and it also includes development packages like npm and VM, Node stuff, Python 3, Pip 3, Golang. So all of the things that you're going to need for security testing. And some of those tools are open source tools. Some of those tools were developed by us. So, for example, Mithril is like a Swiss Army knife for smart contract security, but Mithril was developed by, I think it was Consensus at the time. And that's like a disassembler to perform static analysis in EVM bytecode. You come with tools like Slither, which is a Python 3 tool to perform smart contract static analysis, where you can, sometimes it has false positives, but generally speaking, it's pretty low and it has a bunch of really cool functionalities. It comes with tools like Manticore, which is a symbolic execution tool for analyzing binaries and smart contracts. And we have, I think there's this other one called like Certora Prover, which is a formal verification tool for EVM smart contracts. Again, a lot of this is for EVM chains. And then we're slowly also adding things that would work on Rust tools and Rust-based chains and Cosmosm and everything.
That's awesome. Pepin, hopefully that gives you a good rundown on that. So Harook's asked another question. He wants to know, in terms of smart contract security, what would be your three most important languages to know?
Um, I disagree with this question. Sorry. I would not say that there is a more important language that you need to learn. I would say that you need to really fundamentally understand computer science because we've got some Web3 developers that are Rust ninjas but don't understand basic memory management, and they're leaving some pretty big vulnerabilities because they are just, you might have learned recently Rust, you might have picked it up, like most of us do in this space where we just are self-taught, but you really miss a lot of the computer science foundational stuff, which leaves you open to big holes. So my advice if you're just starting to learn is probably to go for some of the more widely adopted languages, but also I tend to just say, like, go with whatever you're passionate about. If the project that you fell in love with is on Go, then skip Solidity and skip Rust and just learn Go. The best way to learn is by finding something you're passionate about and tinkering with that. So most of what we do so far is on Solidity and Rust. Those are the two most common languages. We're seeing a lot of things being built as well in Go, but do you and make sure that whichever language you learn, you really focus on those computer science fundamentals as well, because that's what's really going to make you a strong developer, and that's what's really going to help you build with security in mind. I want to say that half of all smart contract vulnerabilities are just missing if statements, where, for example, sanity checks is literally just a missing if statement. And a lot of the times we write things to move data from point A to point B, but we never write an if statement to confirm once the data is moved and this process, right? So we're seeing a lot of, and again, that's just basic computer science where you need to have logic and you need to close things once you're not using them, and you don't import a whole library if you only need one tool from it, that sort of thing.
That's awesome. That's good to hear that awesome rundown, that clarification. I was just joking with the community where it's like, there's some alpha that you just dropped there, which is basically looking for missing if statements.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to make a t-shirt like or some sort of like meme or something like just blockchain security is mostly like looking for if statements or something.
that'd be perfect. That'd go well in this community. Da Vinci asked another question about your background, which is basically how did your offensive security background help in making the transition to Web3 security? Or did you essentially have to start from scratch when doing the transition?
I think my background was pretty helpful because I'm sorry, I know this is discouraging, but the best hackers are a personality and not like a book that you read or a course that you took. It really is this personality that's just inquisitive, that never gives up, that it can be learned, don't get me wrong. You can definitely learn to be this kind of persona, but as an offensive security engineer, I've just always tested limits. I've always asked, what if, what if, what if? And maybe, I've just always been the kind of person that tries to use things for something other than what they're meant for. Like, I got this radio as a gift once, and the first thing I did was take it apart instead of play music with it. Why? I don't know, much to my parents' dismay, but it's just that personality where you're inquisitive and whatnot. So I would say that most of my knowledge from Web to security transferred over very well, very smoothly, and has served me very well for blockchain. There are a couple things that I had to learn, but that's the same with any technology. If you're learning cloud security, if you're learning AI security, if you're learning blockchain security, it's always going to be slightly different, but the logical piece is the same. These missing if statements are sometimes things that we have just in regular Web 2 applications. These input sanitations are issues that we have sometimes in regular Web 2 applications. And a lot of these times, these vulnerabilities don't necessarily lead to hacks, but they can lead to breaking things. And so, for example, I've just always been the kind of person that, let's say I saw an API that built this cool tool that will let you, I don't know, index any wallet. And I'm just kind of a troll. So naturally, I type in an ENS domain instead of a wallet, and then the API just like crashes and catches fire because it's like cannot compute. Um, it's more of, if you have that hacker mindset, you will thrive regardless of what technology you work with. And there's definitely a learning curve, and that learning curve changes every day because there's new chains every day. Like Solana didn't exist 2 years ago. Ethereum's been around the longest, and we don't know what's going to come next. But as long as you like learning, you'll be fine.
Awesome. I got a follow up from Mohammed, wanting to know if your Web 2 and Web 3 researchers are separate units. Wanting to know if that's two separate teams or is that combined into a single team?
Well, we're all one team, really, but we are divided into different practices. So we do cross training a lot because cross training is important, and because learning all these new skills and these new way of thinking and these new types of vulnerabilities is critical. Like, we do once a week, we have an internal training where someone just shares a really cool vulnerability that they found. Um, Sometimes it's Web 2 stuff, sometimes it's Web 3 stuff. And generally speaking, our practices are divided by like, for example, our Rust practice, our EVM-based practice. And then we have things like our SWAT team. And I would say everybody across the board knows basic web app penetration testing. But then there's everybody knows Web 2 penetration testing, and then there's different specialists that decided to specifically focus on apps built around a certain ecosystem. Then we have our SWAT team, which is one of my favorite teams, although all the teams are my favorite. Our SWAT team is a team that's just like nobody's ever seen this before. This is brand new chain. This is a brand new technology. These are the savages that will kind of just approach something that didn't even exist recently, and it's a brand new chain that's going to launch soon, and it's written in a brand new language, and those are the beasts that will like go look at that and go tear that down. But across the spectrum, everybody does tend to have the basic Web 2 piece, and then we just upskill them based on what interests they have.
So hopefully that clarifies your question, Mohammed. I got another one from Sentient. So he's wanting to know, apart from client requested security audits, does Halborn have a monitoring approach to scan the space for evolving threats and updates in the industry as a whole?
Yeah, yeah. As a follow-up to the before question, I just remembered we do have like a separate cloud practice, but again, those engineers are being cross-trained to learn a bunch of different chains. We don't like specialists. We like people that do a little bit of everything. Now regarding monitoring, monitoring is huge. I hate that most people find out that they're hacked when Sam Seesung tweets. And no offense, I love me a good Sam Seesung tweet, but if that is your endpoint detection and your threat intel and your monitoring tool, then come talk to me. We can probably design something better. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about what we're building in house because I'm not sure if it's ready to launch yet, but it is ready to launch. I'm just not sure if it's public knowledge yet. But we do have a monitoring service and blue team services that we are building out for some of our clients, and sometimes it's stuff that we monitor for you, and other times it's us helping you build a monitoring practice so you can get the alerts on whatever it is that you need. And we definitely customize those based on the different use cases of the different business models that we help. For example, if you're a DeFi exchange, there might be certain behaviors and certain heuristics and whatnot that you want to monitor for in case something goes wrong, versus if you're in an NFT marketplace, it's similar, people are still trading, but you might want to monitor certain accounts or certain uh, parts of your stack, right? There's the Web 2 piece that we need to monitor because we need to make sure nobody's porting over your domain and that your web application is still functioning. And then there's the Web 3 side that we need to monitor, like who authorized a transaction from our project's wallet, for example. And how are we validating that the transactions that we're doing as an organization are legitimate? Or the something else that we see a lot is people get sent things randomly. Like once your wallet is doxed, a bunch of projects will just send you things. So getting alerts for random things showing up in your wallet, getting alerts for suspicious transactions happening from one of your wallet addresses. There's a bunch of different things that we're looking at in our monitoring side across the stack. And once I'm ready to announce that, there will be a big announcement, I'm pretty sure. But we do have a service line coming.
Ooh, that's awesome. So alpha
Yeah,
drop here that they are coming out with
yeah.
what they're coming out with that in the near future. So I'm gonna combine these two questions from Da Vinci and Shubham. I think that's how you say your name. Sorry if I butcher that. So they're one, and I can kind of also chime in on this, but they're wondering if you needed a formal education in CS or if you can self-learn the fundamentals. Da Vinci, I can answer that one real quick. You could definitely self-learn the fundamentals, especially in blockchain specifically. I've known a lot of people in this space that don't even, for example, like some of them don't even have like a CS background. They just all self-learned the code because it was something that was interesting to them. Um, as
Yeah,
far as
I'm a college dropout, so just saying that, I don't have like a typical CS background where I went and I got a master's in computer science, but I did read our Bible called Data Structures and Algorithms. And I have kept up and I have taken programming classes and whatnot that did go in depth. However, I would like to go back to school and study computer science and really deep dive because I think it would make me a much better um, engineer in general.
awesome. Yeah, and I always tell these guys, speaking with the community and a lot of people within the community, and you probably come across it in Halborn as well, is we've gotten white hats from different spectrums. And I say it all the time, so you guys probably have heard this story multiple times, but we've gotten like guys that are or people that are academics, and then we've also gotten, people that are high school students or even college kids still taking courses or and so it's like you got them from all walks of life. So to say that you need a degree or anything to get started, I think is false. And a lot of people can attest to that, especially in this community, which is just get started. Either start reading or start playing around with code or start doing some testing and start messing around with things, I think is the best way to really build your foundation within the space. And I always tell these guys, like, it's a brand new space. It's everybody thinks it's super competitive. It's competitive on a small handful or even like a little bit larger than a handful of white hats. But the space is still brand new. There's a lot of opportunity that are here that's here, and you guys are, early in this, early in us and early with us and at the forefront of this technology. That you guys can essentially make a huge impact on this and really make a name for yourselves.
Yeah,
Um,
I like to say there's no competition. There's just co-opetition. Like there's more than enough money to go around. There's more than enough projects to go around. And at the end of the day, as a security firm, we're here just to make innovating safe, right? Like we're not trying to shill a token. We're not trying to sell you anything you don't need. We're here because we're people who love blockchain and really want to help make it safe so it can lead to mass adoption. And with that, I guess, yeah, now you know I'm a big bag holder. It's a little bag currently in the current market conditions, but maybe one day it'll be a big bag again.
Everybody's holding a bag these days. But yeah, no, I mean, you bring up a great point. I tell the community here is it's important to leverage the community, not even just Immunify, but Halborn's community, and there's other I know Web3 security communities that are out there as well. Because there's a lot of smart people that's around there, and everybody has run across some sort of problem or issue that you've already run across at some or that you're currently running into right now. And if not, you're right. There's a lot of collaboration that I see on the standpoint where it's like, hey, let's work together to solve this specific issue. But yeah, I think kind of our the mindset here is very similar.
Yeah, like my favorite thing about blockchain is how we all cooperate and how we all work together. Like whenever there's a breach announced, it's like everybody's on Twitter rushing and working together like, "Hey guys, I just found this on Etherscan. Looks like it might be linked to the attacker. Hey guys, I just found this evidence here and it looks like they exploited the profanity bug." And then, "Hey guys, I just found whatever." And so everybody's freaking tweeting all over the place, dropping little bits and bytes of information that can potentially be useful. And I feel like that's something that we don't see in Web 2, right? Like if Uber were to get hacked today, I don't think we'd see, and don't get me wrong, the InfoSec community for Web 2 is great. But I don't think we'd see that much community involvement to rescue Uber from their hack, right? Versus Mango had an issue. It wasn't really a hack. That was like a very good trade. But Mango has an issue, or whatever crypto project has an issue, and immediately everybody hops in to help because we just all like care about this space. So it's so cool to see.
Yeah, for sure, and that's one of the main reasons that I love the Web3 community. I got another question from Mohammed. He's wanting to know if you've come across any projects written in Sway. That's Sway as an SWAY. And also if there's any changes in your testing methodology for any ZK based contracts.
So I am not entirely sure if we've done anything with Sway. I personally haven't. I tend to be more EVM and Rust based focused. Um, I know we've been talking about like move and sway. I'm not sure who internally would do that, but I would surprise me if we don't have at least one person who is able to look at those contracts. And like I said, if it's something that we don't have a practice around, that's something that really goes directly to our SWAT team, who are just the most amazing computer engineers on the planet, and they can always figure things out. And what was the second part of that question? Sorry, you cut out.
Yeah, he wanted to know if your testing methodology changes for ZK based contracts.
So the answer is like yes and no. A lot of the testing methodology um, is still, like I said, computer science based, regardless of what language you're working with. But there are different tools that we use. There are different ways of analyzing things when we are talking about ZK proofs and everything.
Got it. Got it. Got
Yeah,
one.
I haven't worked on those specific engagements, so I can't give you as much details, but I'm positive we do.
There you go, Mohammed. Hopefully that clarifies that for you. Got one where it's someone's or Xerox Hassan's asking if you could if you're on Twitter, throw your handle in there so they can follow you.
Oh,
So
I'm so bad at promoting myself. Yes, my Twitter is my first name and my last initial. I will drop it in here.
awesome.
Limaris T. I need to start tweeting more alpha. I do a lot of these talks where I drop alpha, but I never tweet alpha. I'm kind of, I don't know, it's weird. I'm kind of
So
shy
it's
when it
good.
comes to tweeting.
Makes people have to show up to these events or look.
Yeah,
Got a
yeah. If you
question.
want to learn though, I'm co-teaching the SANS blockchain security and smart contract hacking course in December. So
Mm,
feel free to sign up and I'll be teaching some of the labs on how to exploit these smart contracts, how to harvest keys from a wallet, how to hack bridges, lots of really fun stuff that's going to be happening.
that's awesome. Drop a link if you can in the chat.
Yeah.
Um, and then I
And if
got a
not, then like I said, follow Halborn's Twitter, which I'm going to drop here as well, because we're constantly posting breakdowns of how different hacks happen as well.
awesome. That's fire. Yeah, yeah. Halborn's Twitter is actually is pretty good too. There's a lot of good information there. Got a question from Sentient, and this is interesting too because a few weeks ago we also had the same project on here. This project is Beanstalk. So Sentient wants to know. So Halborn audited the Beanstalk project. So the Beanstalk project uses the Diamond EIP 2535. So not sure if you're familiar with that EIP, but wants to know what your opinion is for the Diamond EIPs. So we had those guys on a few weeks back to discuss the Diamond EIP, and it was honestly, me personally, I was lost, just because it was something that was new for me, but, and it was a lot to learn. I'm still kind of in the midst of everything, but kind of want to get your thoughts and insight around that.
Yeah, of course. Personally, I did not work on the Beanstalk project, so I cannot give any details. Also, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about like client stuff like that. I know that we did their audit and I heard someone saying like this is so interesting, this whole curve thing that they have going on and how uh, everything was working. But the EBIP 6, I think it was like uh, is what they're working on. I'm not too familiar with that project, so I'm just going to refrain from commenting and shoving my foot in my mouth. But yes, we did the audit, and I think somewhere on Twitter we might have dropped like an executive summary or something about the high level findings.
Got you, got you. So Sentient, check their Twitter. Maybe you'll find something there that might give you some more deeper insight on that. The next thing that we got is so Hacker Buy is asking for a medium severity bug in the case of a smart contract. Is there any example that will help us set the proper severity of a bug?
Yeah, so you have to define bugs based on different categories, right? And so different people have different categories on how they rate their bugs. Sometimes bugs can be categorized by the amount of damage that they can do, right? And so that damage in traditional web security is called like confidentiality, integrity, availability, like which of these does it affect and in what way does it affect, and would we be able to potentially recover from that if something were to happen? So for example, if I'm able to do improper memory access, that would be something that's a medium severity. But these severity ratings are kind of weird because even though it might be a medium issue, meaning it's a simple fix, it doesn't technically tear down the system. It's something that if used in conjunction with another vulnerability could lead to you getting recadoodled versus if there was a vulnerability that's like, hey, one of your methods reversed if there's no data that's being returned, or if it's saying that you're not resistant to collusion, or whatever the case may be with your smart contract. Um, if together, if some of these exploited were to be exploited together, they could result in like a critical issue. So our methodology is publicly available here somewhere. I was going to try to share the link to that. But we try to look at what damage can be done, and we try to define the damage by, like I said, does it leak information that shouldn't be available? Does it tamper and change anything that shouldn't be changeable? Or does it cause like a denial of service where it brings the whole network down? And if it were to bring the whole network down, would it be forever? Or would it be for a very short period of time? And how long would it take to restore from this type of issue? So depending on the risk, the likelihood, the threat, how difficult it is to weaponize and exploit to actually take advantage of that vulnerability. That's how we like rate and score different things. I would say, generally speaking, mediums are things that can be easily done and could result in disruption, but not necessarily a full system compromise, versus a high results in like a full system compromise.
Got it, got it. Hopefully that gives you guys some insight in terms of that, in terms of how to take a look and you know, kind of formulate your own perspective in terms of severities.
Mhm. Yeah, like for example, something that I saw reported as a medium by someone else was that the validator keys were exposed. And I was like, how is that a medium? Like, this is literally, you've been pwned once I find this. Um, but I guess they were like, well, in terms of difficulty, it wasn't that hard to find the uh the validator keys. And I'm like, yeah, but you can do a lot of damage with those.
No, yeah. I mean that I know that we've gotten some disputes on our end in terms of some white hats that are submitting like low and mediums and categorizing them as criticals. I mean like I don't blame them. I mean like I'd like a piece of
Yeah, I
some of the
want money. I'm gonna categorize it as high as I freaking can, and
as
I'm
high
gonna
as I
let you
can,
talk me down from
exactly.
it.
For sure,
I
for
don't
sure.
blame you. I don't do bug bounties anymore because I simply do not have the bandwidth, but they are fun, and if you're really good at them, I know people who like make a living off of it.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah,
I mean,
I just it's nice that you guys actually pay out, right? Like there's some bug bounty programs out there that I won't um dox, but I'm sure we're all familiar with how people literally fight them on 0 days and then they barely get $1,000 for them.
yeah, that's kind of a rough go. Got a, I know, well, I'll try and speed this up a little. I know we got you know, a few more minutes, but I don't want to be respectful of your time. If you can stick around longer, that'd be awesome. But Shavam's asking if you have a good resource of writing unit testing with Python Brownie, because he wants to start writing POCs for Ethernet challenges.
No hard questions, guys. No hard questions. I'll get back to you on that. Maybe I'll tweet you. Whose person's Twitter is this? Slide into my DMs and ask me that question again, and I'll send you a link. Resources for unit testing.
Yeah,
Python.
yeah, you can answer it later. So no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah.
Uh, got one right underneath from Mohammed, asking for a methodology perspective. How do you gain confidence that the project that you have audited is really airtight? So what he's
Oh,
actually meaning
lol.
is there a specific fuzzing or testing method that you guys use? Is there something documented, or is it just some sort of, or is it just like trust in the skill of the people that you work with?
What do you mean in terms of trusting projects in general, or in terms of trusting Halborn?
In terms of trusting the skills that your, I guess, coworkers are,
Yeah.
you know, doing the job.
Well, unlike, yeah. Our Halborn's very proof of work, and what that means is in order to even get the job, you have to be able to complete a capture the flag that's pretty hard. and we're constantly changing that capture the flag. And we highly, highly, highly incentivize employees internally to constantly find new bugs and new issues. And it's interesting because when there's a financial incentives for employees, and there's a ranking of offensive security engineers based on how many highs they're finding and how many criticals they're finding and how many mediums they're finding. And so with this internal leaderboard, we're able to track like who's actually producing. And if you haven't had a high or a medium finding in the last 6 months, like why is that? Let's look at some of your projects. Were they projects that were audited 10 times before us? Because in that case, like, okay, maybe. But if they weren't, then we're very good. We don't have a high turnover in terms of people quitting, but we're very good at when you're not performing, like pushing you to perform better. Otherwise, you get let go. Like we are quality, we are proof of work, we are there's literally no reason not to get better when we have all these incentives for you to be the best. So I trust my coworkers like blindly, especially because with that internal leaderboard, I can see that everybody's putting in the work. I can see what projects everybody's working on. I can see how many criticals were found per employee. Like I said, we're constantly cross training and doing all sorts of interesting things. We have like this team retreat in January, and it's not a retreat, it's like a hackathon where we're literally just going to do workshops with each other and cross train for a whole week on what like cross train based on different practices. Yeah, so I think that transparency that we have internally, where we can see who is doing what audit and how many findings they have in total based on what category, really gives me a lot of confidence in my team. I won't disclose that number, but it's a lot.
I was gonna say, before you said disclose, I was gonna say, would it be possible for you to disclose that number? But it's all good. We'll keep that under wraps. So Mohammed's asking the real questions that he wants to know, which is basically for your SANS.org course. He's saying, seeing that all crypto apes are technically wrecked, is there a discount that you can give for that?
Unfortunately, at this time, no. I really wish there was. We do, however, do security summits. Like we just had one in August, which was a bunch of free workshops that you can tune into and you can listen to. They're both in English and in Spanish. Let me find the link. Yeah, here is the SANS Blockchain Security Summit, where you can watch all the recordings. Oh, wait, where'd it go? Where did it go? Um, there's a SANS Blockchain Security Summit. Where did it go? Anyway, all of those have been posted. Let me just find the link for you. All of those videos, Blockchain Security Summit. All of the videos from the Blockchain Security Summit were posted online, are available for free for anybody that wants to learn about them. I forget where exactly they were posted. I'm looking for this. You might have to have an account with SANS to log in and watch those videos. The accounts are free though, but we had some really good alpha that we dropped. We did everything from uh, live walkthroughs of hacks to the state of blockchain security and the threat actors that we're seeing right now being the most active. So every once in a while, we're dropping alpha and we're dropping education across the platform. We'll probably do the SANS free. It was a 2-day thing in English and Spanish, where a bunch of different Halborn folks gave workshops on security on different chains. And we'll probably do that again next year. But you can also just, like I said, the best thing to do is follow us on Twitter, because we constantly have engineers on Twitter Spaces, or people interviewed on a Discord, or people getting interviewed in all sorts of different places where they're sharing their methodology. So that knowledge is available for everybody. The blockchain course was designed for people who really need a formal education, that they need a textbook, that they need to sit down for 5 days and do like a boot camp sort of thing. Not everybody learns the same way. Some of us can be self-taught. Some people need a little bit more structure. So if you don't need that structure, feel free to follow us and learn online. Otherwise, maybe your employer will pay for the SANS course.
Awesome. No, I appreciate you dropping that for us. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I dropped the link again for you guys in the chat. So if you guys want to hop in on that, feel free or definitely sign up for it. I think it's going to be awesome, especially some of the stuff that's been discussed here. Is just a little bit of a taste of probably some of the things that they'll go, have a deeper dive on. To kind of answer another question, Hacker Buyer, you're asking me if an attacker has no profit motive, but there's loss to users, and only a user can lose funds when they call the malicious function. What rating will you give? Honestly, I'm not sure how it's done on the Halborn side, but I know on a Munify side, that's something that you can discuss via the dashboard with the project. Usually, the project gives a reward, anyways, as essentially that thank you for disclosing this bug. As for severity with no profit motive, you can essentially classify it as high as you think it. Classify it as high as you believe it to be critical. So if it's critical, classify it as a critical. And then, usually you'll have a discussion with the project on whether or not it is deemed critical or high. And then the severity will change specific to the bug that is found on that. So it's kind of my answer for that. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Summits. Oh gosh. I0001 is asking if there's currently any fellowships or apprenticeships at Halborn.
Yeah, so I don't know if we have fellowships or apprenticeships or internships. We are constantly looking at interesting resumes, though, so feel free to apply online and look at all of our different roles. I know we post a lot of them on LinkedIn. You can also go to the Halborn website and see what. I think actually LinkedIn is probably the most up to date to see what roles are available. I think we'd be interested and open to it if someone was um, a very interesting candidate for apprenticeships. But normally, what we're doing, if you're a pen tester here and you're a very good Web 2 pen tester, but not necessarily a Web 3 pen tester, is we'll take you as a Web 2 pen tester. You'll start on the Web 2 side while we upskill you to the Web 3 training, because we have all that training internally.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
feel free to check out our website. Feel free to check out, I know nobody here probably uses LinkedIn, but if you look on LinkedIn, you'll find the most accurate, up-to-date things, fully global, fully distributed company, all the nice benefits, always hiring.
You never know. You never know with these guys. They probably are on some of these guys. Some of these guys in the community are probably on LinkedIn as well. So
Yeah,
everybody,
yeah. And if you're not sure what role to apply to, you can DM me on Twitter and I can go over some of the differences and help you choose there if you're so inclined. Just please don't send me any penises. Like, I really hate getting dick pics. So
yeah,
please don't
not
spam me
cool.
with
That
inappropriate content. I'm always happy to help with professional things and, professional penetration testing. If you need advice on what unit testing, fuzz testing tools to use, fine. But please do not actually send me anything related to actual penetration. It's very upsetting.
it won't get you fast tracked to anything at Halborn, that's for sure.
No, it'll get you fast track to the blocked list.
Yeah, don't do that. Let's be we're all professionals here. I know in the
Thank you.
chat sometimes we can get a little bit rowdy, but we're all serious about the things that we do. I know we're almost up on time. Want to be respectful of the time. So if you have any final questions, this is a last call for questions. And then also I want to give the floor to you, Limaris, if you've got any last words or things that you want to Jill, if you want to get rid of some of your bags, I'm sure some of these guys will pick up on it. But yeah, anything, I'll give you the floor for the next few minutes. Shill what you need to shill, promo anything that you need. I mean, I already dropped the link to your classes, and I'll drop it again, but I'll give you the next few minutes.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you so much for having me. I'm still looking for the videos of the Blockchain Security Summit. I know that we did one, and I found the video of John Hammond writing a review, but I can't find the one for the summit, so I'll come back and I will definitely post that link. Someone just wrote to me, when do I start? Lol, can I get invited to the island? Apply, guys. Apply, do the CTF, and if you can pass the CTF, we can maybe talk about what would be a good fit for you. What should you update on resume if someone is independent security researcher? Well, there's nothing wrong with being an independent security researcher. I just like to see prove it documents. So, for example, if you're an independent security researcher, you can have a list of all the different bug bounties that you have reported and that have been paid out. And you can also, you'd still have to do the CTF regardless, right? So we have a Web2 CTF as well. And as long as you can get through the CTF, we're always willing to have a conversation. That's kind of like our spam filter. And as an independent security researcher, as long as you're having some sort of prove it document. And if we ask you, well, how did you write that exploit and how did you come up with that idea and how did you proceed to do thing X, Y, or Z, and W, and you can actually explain it, then we'll be able to talk. Um, yeah, but it's not just about the bug rewards though. It's also like show me your code, show me what you did to actually break it. Yeah, so Halborn, we're hiring. Halborn, we're helping. So if you're anybody who is a blockchain project and needs help, feel free to contact us as well. We're a little booked right now, which is surprising given the bear market. We're heavily booked right now, but I'm sure we can get you in the pipeline. I'm sure we can work together at some point. I'm looking at all these messages. Means unit. What's our interview process for a Web2 pen tester? Our interview process is the same for a Web2 pen tester as it is for anybody. You apply, you do the CTF. If you pass the CTF, you get an interview. And after two interviews, one would be a technical interview and the other one would be an interview with the practice manager. After that, then you would have an offer letter if you make it through the whole process. Or actually, you go through background check, and then if you make it through background check, you get an offer letter. Um, as you said, going to be in the block list. No. Block list is only for Twitter people who are sexually harassing me. Is there a point of contact if I know a company that should probably get an audit from y'all? That's a good question. So Charles Dre, I'll post his Twitter here, is our lead business development person at Halborn. I'm sure you can slide into his DMs on Twitter or onto his LinkedIn, and you can let him know, hey, we have this project that needs help. Could you arrange something? So here is Charles's Twitter, and here is Charles's LinkedIn. Um, you can reach out to me as well. I can probably set you up with the right person. I don't do sales though intentionally. But I can definitely set up a conversation internally. It just, if you reach out to me, make sure that you say, hi, I have this project looking to accomplish this task. And it can be a web app penetration test, it can be DevOps, it can be smart contract audit or whatever. And I also need to know a timeline, and they're looking to do it in this amount of time before they go live. And then I can set up those internal conversations for us. So feel free to, like I said, I'm pretty good about reading my Twitter DMs. Otherwise, for sales purposes, you can also reach out to Charles.
Got it. There you guys have it. Hopefully, and to wrap this up. Da Vinci, I'm pretty sure she's on LinkedIn somewhere.
Yes, I am on LinkedIn here. I'll share it.
So she'll
Um,
share LinkedIn. But yeah, I'll wrap this up in the meantime. So there you guys have it. You got some insight here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this session. Give a big thanks to Limaris for hopping on and answering your questions. Having a discussion with you. She dropped some really awesome knowledge here, some really good resources. Sign up for a class. I'll throw that link in there again.
Thank you.
But definitely for sure. But yeah, thank you so much for hopping on with us and just talking with our community. And yeah, we'd love to have you on again if, at some point, later in the future, when things kind of calm down, maybe we'll wait for a little bit of a bull market or something.
No
We're a
worries.
big
I'm
fan,
happy
you
to
guys.
help. I'm happy to educate the space. I think that the number one thing we can do right now as security advisors is to help educate as many people as possible because if you don't know what you don't know, and if you don't know that you're supposed to be building with security in mind, then it's not really your fault, right? One thing is ignorance, which is knowing and not doing, and another thing is literally just innocently not knowing. So I'm happy to help educate the space. Like I said, stalk our Twitter. Um, our COO Dave is fantastic. He hosts weekly office hours with a bunch of different projects. Sometimes they're technical, sometimes they're about regulations. He's fantastic as a host, and there's alpha being dropped all over the place because we really care about educating the whole industry. So happy to help.
Awesome, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much. And definitely check out their Twitters, their Discord. I know their community is fairly active as well. They do push out a lot of content, and like I always tell you guys, leverage the community. When I say that, it's not just Immunify's community, but spread it around. There's a lot to be learned. There's a lot of smart people in these communities. Ask the right questions. Ask the questions that even if you're getting started, don't be shy. And yeah, and to wrap it
Yeah,
up,
reach out to people online, and if you
exactly.
can, reach out to people in person. Sometimes hackathons or conferences are really good ways of meeting people and learning from other. I've personally benefited so much from going to conferences, and some of the best security things I've learned from developers at DevCons because I just didn't know that that's how things worked, and then that kind of sparked an idea. Oh, I wonder if I can use it this way, and then it becomes an exploit. So, if you're in Miami for any conferences or if you're around, let me know. I'm always posting what conference I'll be at next, and I'm happy to meet.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much for hopping on. And guys, as usual, if you have any feedback in terms of what you want to see in some of our upcoming calls, let me know. In terms of upcoming events, in our next ones, we do have a project coming up next week, or not next week, the week after next week, which is called Helio. And then we also have another hacker hangout the following with Adrian. He'll talk to you guys about technical recruiting. So go into the events and subscribe to those so you get notifications when those go live, or you can just wait for me to tag you in the announcements. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Limaris, for hopping on. And yeah, we wrap that up for today. Thank you so much.